When officers came the stairs, they never seen anything like that before. Everyone heard screams. No one in the senior retirement home had ever seen anything like that before. Suddenly, a patrol of officers came galloping up the stairs, letting the stomp of their boots resound all over the nursing home, breaking the peace and quiet that was usually the norm in the place. A crowd of staff and residents came together under the stairs, wondering what could be going on. One of the nurses took out her phone and started recording. Then, everyone heard the screams. This story has recently caused an uproar in the media and given place to a debate about how the elderly are treated in our society. Some people believe it's a regrettable exhibition of brutality and lack of compassion, while others think the situation is more nuanced. We'll let you decide by yourself after you read all the details of the story of this 93-year-old lady who saw herself forced to confront law enforcement. Juanita Fitzgerald is a 93-year-old woman from Tennessee who has been living in a retirement home in Eustis, Florida, for the last 10 years. Senior retirement communities are often the best choice for those who prefer to spend the autumn of their years living independently, yet among people of similar age and surrounded by qualified staff who can assist them in case of need. However, not all that glitters is gold. However, conflicts can also sometimes arise in this type of environment. The peace and quiet of the nursing home were suddenly shattered when Juanita Fitzgerald got in trouble with the Lake County Police Department. When it happened, only a few people in the retirement community knew what was going on. But now, the reasons have been made public and they're causing a debate on whether it was a fair situation or an outrageous and unjustified episode. Juanita was known by the staff and residents of the retirement community to be a rather solitary individual. She didn't get along too well with her family. In all her years there, it seemed like she had never received a single visit. She didn't have too many friends among the other seniors either. And as far as the staff, her relationship with them was quite peculiar. Usually, she would be reasonably polite to the people working in the nursing home. However, when things didn't go her way, she would sometimes throw tantrums and even get rude. These episodes would typically not last any longer than a few hours. Also, the staff was kind of used to Juanita's personality and knew how to handle her, so there never was any major problem with her. Until that day. One day, Juanita started complaining more than usual. Suddenly, she seemed to have a problem with every little thing about how things were run at the retirement home. The staff wondered what could have happened to explain this sudden shift in Juanita's mood. Now her fits didn't go away after a few hours. She stayed in a bad mood for weeks and weeks. And most of her complaints focused on one specific thing. The lady complained that there was some mold on her room's walls that made the space uninhabitable for her. Every time one of the nurses entered a room, Juanita would go on long rants about how the mold was making her life hell. A team of professionals inspected the room, however, no mold whatsoever was found on its walls. But after they communicated this to Juanita, things only got worse. She didn't seem satisfied with the professionals' report. And at this point, the details of the story get blurry, as there are different versions of it, depending on whether you ask Juanita or the staff in the retirement home. According to the staff, Juanita single-handedly decided to stop paying rent. But what was even more outlandish was the reason that she gave for that. Juanita argued she was sure she didn't have much time left in the world, so she would stop paying rent, as she could pass away at any moment. However, Juanita's version of the story is different. According to her, the retirement home manager just decided to evict her arbitrarily and would take her money even though she kept trying to pay rent. Unfortunately, the conclusion to this disagreement was an appalling episode. One day, a police car pulled up in front of the senior's home. A patrol of officers came out, entered the retirement community, and started climbing up the stairs as the shocked residents stared at them. Then, everyone could hear the screams and shrieks. A minute later, the officers came down the stairs holding Juanita, who didn't stop yelling at them to let go of her. Then, they got her in the car and took her to the station. Soon enough, images surfaced of the 93-year-old lady sitting at the police station, handcuffed and in a state of distress, asking the officers to let her go home. According to the reports, the officers had tried to convince her to pack her belongings and leave the building, as she had been evicted by the caretakers. But she refused. The officers argued they weren't left with any option other than holding her and escorting her out of the retirement home. After the incident, Juanita stayed a few days in jail, as she didn't have any other place to go. This has caused a big uproar in the media. Many people have found how law enforcement has treated the elderly woman outrageous. However, a few more details of the story have made it to the reports. Apparently, there's more to this case than what it might have seemed at first glance. Juanita has admitted that the retirement home offered to find her another place to live when she stopped paying rent and before the police officers were called. However, she refused to move elsewhere. After a few days, Juanita was released and started living in a hotel in Tavares. However, she barely has any means to support herself and rejects any help that is offered to her. According to Juanita, the only thing she misses is her Bible, which she left in her old room in the retirement community. I could probably get some more clothes. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for God, she has also said. In order to protect the privacy of those depicted, some names, locations, and identifying characteristics have been changed and are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblances to actual events or places or persons, living or dead, are entirely coincidental.